Okay, welcome everybody to a new edition of the triple session 20-minute sprint training. For those of you who have been here before, process is nothing new. If you haven't, let's walk through the rules of engagement here. Number one, 20 minutes. We live up to our word. We're going to get in, we're going to get smarter, we're going to get out, we're going to get back to selling. 10 minutes, I'm going to hang around afterwards for some live Q&A. So if you've got some questions, get them into the chat. I'm going to answer them in the order that they are delivered in the chat. So if you have some stuff that's coming up as we're running through this, let me know. They're going to be answered in that order. Everything that you're going to see here, plus a ton more, is in a skill track that we just released inside Triple Session on referral selling. We'll talk a little bit more about that soon. If we don't get to your questions today, check them out in here. You can drop your questions in a live Q&A that we're going to have inside our community. If you're not a community member already, what are you doing? Why not get in there, start working inside our community and start taking advantage of the conversations that are having there. If you are part of our user group and you are already a Triple Session member, you already have access to all of the sessions and knowledge that we're going to be going over today in the track. The link is right there. Again, it's free if you're not, so jump in. Let's get the party started though. Let's talk about referrals, referral prospecting specifically. Got a lot to cover in 20 minutes. I'm going to invert Simon Sinek here for a second. I'm going to start with the why not, because most salespeople do not prospect for referrals. Why not? What's going on that is preventing salespeople from wanting to take advantage of this? And there are a few reasons that this comes up. First, the most obvious time to prospect for referrals is right when the client signs up, right when they start to deliver value and see value from the product or service. At that point, sales tends to take their foot off the gas. They tend to believe that the work is done. I've done my job. I'm moving on. I feel good about the victory that just happened. Also, there just aren't tons of opportunities. There aren't a lot of referral leads that typically come in, especially in most B2B sales motions. You just don't get a lot of opportunities and a lot of shots on goal to keep the momentum and keep the volume there. And because of that, there is not this habit that's built with constant reinforcement from getting referrals again and again and again. It's just not there where salespeople will practice it, they'll get the results from it, and they'll keep the habit going. And because of that, people don't consider it. It's not even something that most salespeople think about when they're working with clients, even successful clients, even clients who come in and say, man, you crushed it. I loved this experience, so much value, excited to be buying, excited to start working with your business. There you go. When can we get the kickoff? Even then, most salespeople will not stop and say, who else do you know? So because it comes up so infrequently, salespeople will just let it go and move on to the next one. Why is that not the thing to do? Obviously, we're talking about referral prospecting here, and I am a huge believer and advocate in building the referral habit. So why is that? The first thing is pure numbers, pure value of referral opportunities. Referrals have shown to be 4 times as valuable as an inbound lead. Now think about that. Somebody coming from the web, finding your product, finding your service, finding your company, voluntarily converting. That's a golden opportunity. Nobody throws that opportunity away. Imagine you threw 4 of those away every time you missed a referral. That's what's happening. You're throwing those opportunities in the trash when you don't take it upon yourself to pull that opportunity from a prospective client. So if we just reframe the value of a referral opportunity for a minute and think about what is actually at stake here, reframe the value of a referral opportunity to be worth 4 demo requests every time you get one. That's a game changer. That by itself can change your week, your month, your quarter, maybe even your year. even if you just get one great referral, depending on the volume of sales that you get, let alone the fact that it's the fastest sales process, it's the highest converting, it's on record as having the highest value of a lead, because all of that trust is built in from the prospect because they know somebody who trusts you already. So if we think about the value of a referral, nobody disputes that referral opportunities are valuable, but nobody is taking action on it because they don't think of it in these terms. They don't keep it front of mind. That's why most sales teams are not taking advantage of this. So who should you start prospecting referrals from? If I've won you over already, and now is your come to Jesus moment where you're saying, okay, Matt, you've got me. I'm in. You're right. Referrals are there. I need to do better. Who do I start to approach with this? The short answer to start with, as the lump of clay that you're going to shape, is everybody. Everybody has possibility of giving you a referral. And I mean everybody. Let me unpack what I mean by everybody. The obvious everybody is every customer you sold. So when you look at your sold customers and they're in there working with your customer success team, or they're getting your product or service delivered, keeping regular tabs on them and keeping a conversation alive to go back to them and mine referrals over time, that is building equity into your customer base. The longer you're with a business, the more customers you're going to have there, which means the more opportunity you'll have to mine referrals. The referral mine is like a gold mine, but except pulling gold out means that there's less gold. The longer you mine that referral mine, the more gold is there, because the mine gets bigger and bigger and bigger over time. Recently sold customers, I get a lot of pushback with, well, Matt, we shouldn't ask right when they buy because they haven't seen the value yet. They don't know exactly what we're going to do for them. The jury is still out on whether or not this was a successful decision. Bullshit. Don't wait for that. It's never too early to just ask for a referral. Somebody has said, you know what? I'm confident enough in what you've done and what you've shown me that I am going to give you my money in exchange for your product or service. That's enough to warrant referral asking. The worst that can happen is that they say no or not now. That's it. Nothing is worse that can happen from that. So ask early, ask often, ask everyone. And everyone means even people that don't buy. So close lost opportunities that are valuable are great opportunities to squeeze some value out of that work that you've done. Most sales end up in close lost. It's just the reality. Almost every sales organization I've ever looked at has a late stage opportunity to won rate below 50%. That means you put all of this work in, you have qualified opportunities, you've run discovery, you've delivered all of this value, you've built a presentation, you have delivered a great story to this prospective client. Oftentimes it's with a champion who's with you and wants to buy and wants to get their team on board, and then they don't. What can you do with all of that value? Yeah, you can just move it to close lost and say, well, better luck next time, poor me. Or you could say, you know what? I've got a champion here who's a believer and they wanted to buy. Now's the time that I gave them all of this value. They want to give me something back and it cannot be the purchase. Let me get some referrals from you. Tell me who else you know that's like you that might end up looking at what I'm offering as more valuable, that might benefit from a conversation with me like you've benefited from. Who else do you know? Simple asks like that. We'll get into the tactics a little bit more about how to effectively maximize conversion from referral asking. But the who is universal until it just doesn't make sense. Who doesn't make sense? An early stage opportunity that says, yeah, this just doesn't work for me. I don't think that this makes sense. I'm not in. Goodbye. Obviously, you're not going to ask there, but start with encompassing everyone you possibly could ask and only pair out the ones that really don't make sense at all. The 3 examples I just gave all make complete sense. When to ask, I mentioned it a minute ago, ask early, ask often. So this is particularly the case with recently signed clients. Ask them now, even though they're likely not to give you a referral when you ask them now. And especially because they're not likely to give you a referral, you need to go through a few series of asks, which we'll talk about in a minute, before you really start to gain momentum from a referral engine from prospects. It's atypical that you ask for a referral and somebody says, oh yeah, my buddy is great. Oh, my cousin has the same job I have in a similar company. You got to talk to her. Very, very rare. So typically you have to come back to the conversation a few times. Better to prime that conversation early and start the engines, start the process of what it will eventually take to get a referral. And we'll talk about that process in just a minute. Before we start talking about how process, we have to talk about how you, meaning the mindset that you're going to adopt to effectively convert and prospect referrals. It first has to start with the logic of it. Salespeople always need to know that you lose more than you win, and you're fine with that. It's part of the job. It's the life that we have chosen. So once you realize that, you can dismiss the fact that, oh, even though most of my effort goes in the trash, it does not mean I don't make the effort at all. It doesn't mean I don't run a discovery call, because most discoveries don't end up in a sale. Obviously, we run discovery calls. It doesn't mean that we don't demo product, because most demos don't lead to a sale. Obviously, all of this feeds into the engine of success. Same thing for referrals, but as I mentioned earlier, you have to reshape your mindset that the volume of opportunities does not match the value of opportunities. The value is overwhelming. So the first how that you need to program yourself into is build the habit of referral asking. Know that it's just part of your routine. You come back to it religiously every single time. That's how you conquer both the volume piece. It's just enough shots over an extended period of time, and you conquer the quality piece. You're not going to be good at it if you just ask for a referral once a month, once a quarter, once a year, like some of you do. Don't lie to me. I know who you are out there. So you have to get into the practice and the process of referral is part of my business plan. It's part of what I do, ingrained into the conversation I have with clients. And my mindset is positive empathy. People should want to give referrals because I've delivered them value. I've built a great business plan, and even though they said no, I've delivered value they should want to give back. I've just delivered such a business plan. They said yes, they've signed up. You're with me now. Great. You should want to spread the word on what you've just found, because clearly you see that it's valuable. And with the customer base, you're continuing to get value from working with my company over month after month after month. Help us spread the word and share the wealth that you found. So you have to reframe your mindset that people want to give you referrals, which most do. They're able to give you referrals when you set it up the right way, and you will get referrals that equal sales value to your pipeline if you do it consistently. And let's talk about that process. What is the how for actually effectively getting referrals? And we're going to spend the last 5 minutes right here before we wrap up. So the how to effectively get referrals comes in two formulas. One is rapid fire, high volume sales, where you work in a sales organization where you're selling 2, 3, 4, 5 sales a day. I've worked inside those sales organizations. Transactional, high volume, very inbound, and you've got to go. You don't have a lot of time to prepare for the referral conversation. You need a standardized formula that will maximize your chances of getting a referral. The formula for that is to, one, prime the conversation, meaning it's great to be working with you. Seems like you see tons of value in what we've offered. What was it that was really the most valuable thing that made the decision for you now that you just become a customer. Prime the conversation with all of the dopamine, all of the positivity that the client has now floating in their brains on why they've made this purchase decision. They've just bought something. They feel great. Nobody likes to be sold, but everybody loves to buy. And they just bought something. They want to play with their new toy. What was it that made you make that decision? Oh, the value is here. Great. What would be amazing is if you could help us get the word out to others who maybe aren't finding us as easily as you did. It was great that you found us. We had this conversation. You and I were able to chat and eventually now do business. I'd love to get the word out to anyone in your network that you might know who has a similar situation that would just benefit from learning more about the value that we offer that you just mentioned. And now the key ask is open-ended. Who else can you think of right now that you feel would benefit from just learning more? Has to be open-ended, not closed. If you ask a close-ended question here, do you know anyone right now that I could get the word out? You're just going to get a closed-ended answer. And most answers point blank in this stage are no. So no, I don't know anyone. And it really closes the door to the follow-up. The ambition of asking for referrals at this point is not to get a referral. If you get a referral right now, when you ask this first time, it's a happy accident, and they happen every once in a while. It's like that inbound lead that just says, hey, I want to buy. Can you help me? Every once in a while, you'll get them and it's great. Open yourself up to that opportunity because you'll get them every once in a while. What you really want to do is prime the follow-on conversation. Who else do you know that, like you, would benefit from just learning more about the value that you just mentioned? And pause. Let them think, let them reply. The typical reply that you're going to get is, well, I need to think about it. I probably know some people, but I'd have to think about it. Sure, makes sense. I know it's probably not front of mind. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, is zip you an email, just poke you, remind you that it'd be great to get the word out. And if you could reply to that once you think of somebody, that would be great. Sound good? Sound good. And you're just fishing. You're putting lines in the water. What you will find first, if you document by referral and you put it in an email, is people will reply back a week, a month, sometimes a year later when they come across someone. You want to leave that open channel, but also it allows you to come back to that conversation when you're mining into that customer base. Hey, Matt, we talked a while back. Looks like things are going great in terms of your early stage value that you're getting. I know that you're working with Vanessa and you guys are going great. Congratulations. I'd mentioned earlier, we're trying to get the word out. I'm always trying to spread the word on who else might be out there that's in your network. Were you able to come up with anyone, think of anyone? That's the high volume process. The other process is much more tactical and much more strategic. Typically, you invest in this when the ticket size is much higher, your sales volume is lower, and you can prepare for the referral conversation at the signing of the customer. So you're working through the contract period. You know the call you're going to have when the customer signs the contract. Before you get to that call, you've already done the homework of mining into the customer's network. You've gone into LinkedIn, you've checked out their connections, you've filtered them out to see who would be a great introduction, and you've pulled 2 or 3 or 4 names that they have first connections to on something like LinkedIn. And when you find those, then you prime the conversation with, hey, same way, what was it that was most valuable? What really made the decision for you? Oh, great. Glad that we were able to do that. It's amazing that you and I were able to meet and go through this process and talk and have this great, valuable conversation. And now we're working together. I noticed that you're also connected to Jennifer. Jennifer works as the head of such and such at X company. How well do you know her? Is this just a random connection? Do you actually know Jennifer? No, I know Jennifer. Great. I would really appreciate if you'd be willing to introduce me via email. Just let her know that you decided to start working with my business and you recommend just having a conversation. Would you be opposed to sending an email like that? You do the homework, do the heavy lifting, get as much of it done. If they don't know Jennifer, that's why you have 2 or 3 or 4 more names. You didn't know Jennifer. Actually, I did a little homework in your LinkedIn and I found a few other people that would be great. Would it be okay if I just asked if you know a couple people that are in your immediate network? Sure, go right ahead. Name. Do you know this person? No. Do you know that person? No. How about this person? Yeah, I used to work with him and I know him really well. Would you be opposed to sending an email over and introducing me? No, I wouldn't. Great. What I could do is actually send you the email that's really light, just so you know it's an open conversation, it's light, just to see if there's a valuable fit here, just to see if it makes sense to learn more. Prime the conversation, take as much work off the plate of the client as possible, do as much of the heavy lifting as you can, and then serve it up on a silver platter. Again, you will usually, even in this scenario, get a no, get a wait, get a, you know what, I'd rather wait and see how the onboarding goes. I'd rather wait and see how we first start working together before jumping right in. That's okay. You've started and primed the conversation. You've asked the first time and gotten the first no out of the way. Get the first no, get the second no, get the third no. The more shots you make on asking for referrals, the more you will get a return on that investment. Has to be a habit. Prospecting is a habit. Build it into your process. One final note before we go to Q&A for all of you sales leaders out there. You're probably hearing that I am very procedural about this value of asking for referrals. Huge mistake I see in most sales processes is it is absent as a step in the process. Asking for referrals should be a native, integrated, hardwired, hard-coded step in the sales process. Your sale does not end with contract signed, move to the next team. It is ask for referral, get that conversation started, and keep coming back for more. It's a flywheel process. It's not a line. So when you build referral selling into the flywheel of a process, it's baked in, and the expectation is now in the mind of your sales team that they need to execute this to effectively do the baseline of their job. It's core to their function. So build it into your process, make asking for referrals a step, log it in CRM, track it in your CRM. If they don't ask for the referral after they sign a customer, at least send them back to the customer to ask the referral and do their job. Build this into the native process. You will get results. You have to do it more shots on goal. That completes our sales session today. As I'd mentioned, all of this is part of the Getting Referrals track that you can find inside our tracks page in the Triple Session app. Triple Session is completely free, small micro courses of training and testing and profile building to get all of these great knowledge and tips in there. What I talked about today just scratches the surface on what's in there. Get in there as quickly as you can. Next week is going to be a very manager focused session. We're going to talk to Brooke Friedman, old colleague of mine from HubSpot, then Drift. Now she's leading the team at Chameleon. She's going to be with me here going really deep into best practices on coaching salespeople. Brooke is best in class in doing this. So we're going to learn a lot. Without any further ado, let's open it up. We got some time here that's left. What questions can I answer for you before we shut it down and turn it over to the Slack group? As I'm waiting here for some questions, you can see the link to the next sprint inside the chat. Jump into the page, register for it now. Every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be hanging out and going really deep into a specific skill topic. Next week is coaching. All right. It looks like we're good to go. No questions. If you do have questions, again, jump into the Triple Session Slack community. We have a separate channel right in there for Q&A. I'll get to your question by end of today if you set it in there. If you think about it tomorrow or the next day, just fire away. and happy to help out with referral prospecting. Like everything, it takes time and practice to get really, really high functioning at referral asking. Get your shots in. Practice makes progress. So get the repetitions in as much as you can. See you next week, everybody.